Hi everyone, it's Lisa Brown with InkandInspirations.com. Thank you for joining me for this fifth and final edition of Stampin' Up! Christmas Cards for 2019 here on Christmas in July on Ink and Inspirations. And for today's card, we're making this simple design using a watercolor wash and these dies from the hand-lettered prose dies that are in the annual catalog. And you can actually get this with a bundle called Praiseworthy Prose with the stamp set and the dies for 10% off. And it has these darling and sweet definitions that go along with it. And if any of you have been with Stampin' Up! For a while, you may remember the Define Your Life with the alphabet definitions A to Z. I still have that stamp set. I love it. I will never get rid of it. And this one is much like that and so appropriate for so many different kinds of cards. Grateful, celebrate, family, bundle of joy, way to go, cheerful, and friendship. So great little bundle. But today for the Christmas card, we're just using the dies for the word rejoice. Okay, and I've already pre-cut that so that it'll go a little quicker. But I've used blueberry bushel here, and this is a piece of watercolor paper that I have used blueberry bushel ink with an aqua painter, and this is very dark. Everyone is different. I used a lot of ink on this one, but for today I'm going to do a little bit lighter version. So let's get started. First, let's go ahead and get the card base ready. I have a piece of blueberry bushel cut at 5.5 by 8.5. I'm going to match the corners up and give it a good crease with a bone folder. And for the top layer, or the bottom, however you want to look at it, it's a 4 by 5.25 piece of Whisper White cardstock. And we can go ahead and apply that and set the card base aside. This is a landscape card, a simple design, but really pretty. Okay, so now I'm going to get a piece of watercolor paper that has escaped me. Here it is. And it is cut at, let's see, 3.25 by 4.5. And I'll have all these dimensions on my blog at inkandinspirations.com, so be sure and hop over there and check it out. And I'm going to use two colors for the background here. I'm using blueberry bushel, and I'm going to open this ink pad up. And I'll have to tell you, when I was doing this, I had blue ink all over my hands because I was having fun playing with it, and I just didn't worry about it. But today, I am ready to try to do this without making such a big mess on my hands. I have re-inker in both the Night of Navy and the blueberry bushel, and I'm going to try to give it a light wash with the aqua painter. There is water in the well, and you squeeze it so that the water comes down into the brush tip. And so I'm going to start off with a little bit of blueberry bushel first. And I'm not getting the intense ink there. I'm just starting here and mixing some water with it. And I'm going to brush it over the front. I found that if you want a varied color, a variegated color where it's not like a solid looking blue or whatever hue you decide to use, to just start, less is more. Start with just a little bit and then add color as you need. So I'm mixing a little bit more of the ink in and going to brush it over, and you can see the darkness there. I think I need a little bit more water, so I'm going to squeeze a little bit into the brush tip and mix it up there and there. The more water you have, the easier it is to spread. And you can also wet your watercolor paper first. I choose not to do that sometimes because I just like what the result is when I put the color directly onto the dry watercolor paper. It's just a matter of preference. Okay, I'm liking how that looks. So I'm going to take an old rag and squeeze the water down into the brush to clear it out of the blueberry bushel. And now I'm going to take some Night of Navy. Now I want to point out, you can see here, although this is all one color ink, do you see the different shades that are coming out? Okay, and that's going to be the same with the Night of Navy. So there I go, adding some of this. And when you're making these cards, if you decide to do a holiday card with a watercolor wash as a background, spend one day, you know, it's July, you can start early, spend one day just cutting your watercolor paper and doing your washes and let them dry, okay? And then you can just proceed from there. One day, do all of your die cutting, and then finishing up another day. Okay, I like how that looks. Now, I mentioned letting it dry, doing these and letting it dry. That's my favorite way to do it rather than getting the heat tool to it. So, but today I'm just going to save this and set it aside, and I have one that's finished already and dry using these same two colors with basically the same technique. I'm going to close this ink up. And let's see, put this back up so I don't get it. I'm going to clean my brush while I'm thinking about it. So the letters from the die cuts are die cut letters, I should say, are cut from Whisper White cardstock, just plain. And here is, you can see the finish. Now you can see that sparkly. I'm going to show you how I got that. Okay. Gives it a really pretty festive look. I've got my Wink of Stella glitter pen, and what I do is I try to squeeze a little bit, and sometimes I get too much of the glitter paint down into that, and I'll get a little pool here. Okay, so I can dip in that. I take my bone folder and I just splatter it over the piece. And while you're doing this, you don't really notice how sparkly it is initially until it dries. So you can see I'm just adding more. I already had quite a bit of sparkly on it, but that's how you get that look using your Wink of Stella. Okay, I'm going to move that out of the way, and we're going to attach our letters. So what I do is I go ahead and I put my first and last letter on the piece that I'm going to attach them to. And then I come on in from that. And I'm going to give you a little secret here. I'm not one to try to get it straight, perfectly straight across the card. And to keep it from looking like, oh, she messed up, she didn't get it straight, I will purposely stagger the letters so it doesn't have to be in a straight line. Okay, right now I'm just getting my spacing. Okay, so you can see there, it's like, it looks like I tried to make it straight, but it's not. So what I do when I'm going to adhere, I'll do one up, one letter down, one letter up. This one's a little down. That's the J. It's rather large, but that's okay. Come up with the I, the O. The I is there, C, and E. Okay? So then you get a really pleasant look, and you know I purposely attach them in that manner. Okay? So I'm going to get some of our liquid glue, and I've tested it ahead of time. Hopefully it's still ready, where just a stream or a little bit comes out at a time. And you want to, instead of applying it up and down, perpendicular like that, do it at an angle so that you have more control over the glue coming out. All right, so let's put that on. And I've already got them pretty much like I want on this watercolor piece. There's my E. And you can see it's very important to have your watercolor wash dry before you start doing this. Otherwise, it will not adhere well at all. Okay, here's our J. And then the dot for the J. Now, what I love about these dies, kudos to Stampin' Up! For doing this time, is that when you cut the J, you're cutting the bottom, the J and the I, the bottom and the dot at the same time on the die. Comes out separately, but you don't have to cut this little bitty piece by itself, okay? Makes it so much easier. Okay, here's my O. And then I'm going to do my I. And don't worry, if you get a little bit of glue that seeps out from the edge, it's going to dry clear, so don't stress about that, okay? All right, let me get this dot. And the C. And then finally the E. Okay, there we go. So pretty. Now let's go ahead and get the card base and attach this. And I purposely cut the watercolor paper just the right size for the Rejoice. And again, these measurements will be on my blog so that you can recreate this. And what I like about this is that you can stretch the use of your stamps and your dies by, like, no, you would not have thought of this as a Christmas card, okay? But, you know, when you have those word dies, you can make it say whatever you want to. You can spell it out. And the size is perfect for card fronts as well as for scrapbooking, okay? So now I have a piece of 4 by 5 1/4 piece of Whisper White that's going to be for the inside. And I decided I wanted to use a Christmas greeting. So I have this Merry Christmas to All. And I'm using Christmas in the script and Blessings in the manuscript font. And I'm using Blueberry Bushel again to stamp my greeting. I'm trying very hard not to get ink everywhere. Okay. So I'm going to ink up Christmas, and it's photopolymer, so I can see where I'm stamping. And I'm going to go a little to the left of center. Then I have Blessings. And I'm going to come over here and stamp. There's our inside and room for you to sign your family's name and maybe put a date up at the top. Let's attach some snail to the back. And attach that to the center. Okay. There you have your 5th card in the series of 2019 Christmas in July Stampin' Up! Cards. You can see the difference in the backgrounds here. It's a matter of preference. Experiment with different colors too, all right? You can try any color that you wish and make a beautiful card to send for the holidays. If I can help you with anything, please let me know. Visit my website at inkandinspirations.com to shop and to see more ideas. Thank you so much for joining me this week, and I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.